Hi, I'm Lance Henriksen. You're watching Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. Don't turn it off.
Hello and welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk, and I'm joined today by a very special guest. This is Nathan Ashman. Say hello, Nathan.
Hello, Nathan.
Hey, we're here to review The Man from U.N.C.L.E, which we both saw tonight, so sorry this is a bit late. So the film follows two agents who are teamed together. One is American and one is Russian. The American agent here is played by Henry Cavill, who many will know as Superman in The Man of Steel. Playing the Russian agent, Ilya Kuryakin, is Armie Hammer, who most will know as the twins from Social Network. These two agents start out as adversaries, but are eventually teamed up together to work on a case. Obviously, we've seen this scenario many times before. It's the old enemy mine scenario in which you pair up two people who are opposites and eventually they gain respect for each other throughout the film. However, what did we think about it? Well, Nathan, I believe you got some interesting thoughts. Care to share?
Yeah, I do. Some things I liked the music, especially some of the old school soul music that was in there, and also the score by
Daniel Pemberton.
Daniel Pemberton.
It was a really good score, I think. It's just there was a lot of variation, I thought, in the score. So depending on the tempo of the film, I think the score kind of accommodated with it. So really good score. The performances, I kind of liked Henry Cavill maybe a little bit more in this film, but I think Armie Hammer had the more unenviable task of doing the Russian accent.
See, I much preferred Armie Hammer's performance in this than what's his name?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill. Superman.
Just call him Superman.
Reason being is that I thought there was much more to play with the Russian character, so he was much more believable. He had a vulnerability. He had this anger issue that was going on all the time, which meant that you could really sort of play with that character a little bit more. And I thought Armie Hammer did that really, really well. With Henry Cavill, I thought he was just too slick. There was no vulnerability there. Henry Cavill never really lost his cool, even when he was strapped into a chair being electrocuted. He still didn't lose his cool. And I think he
did lose his cool a little bit with the fight scene between them in the toilet.
He did actually,
which was a really good fight scene, I think. And I agree with you in the sense that on the page, Armie Hammer's character is much better written. There's definitely more meat there. He goes through a bit more of a story arc, I guess, whereas Cavill's character is more of a foil, I guess, for the Russian character to play off of. But I don't know. I guess because so far we've not really seen Cavill in a right lot other than Superman. So I like what he brought to this character. He's a complete opposite to Clark Kent, to the Boy Scout in the Superman outfit. I like that. Actually, yeah, he is that Bond type. He is a womanizer. I don't embrace what he stands for, but I like the way he played it. He doesn't have as much to work with from a script standpoint, but I thought that shows a strength of his acting ability, that he actually did make me warm to him throughout the film.
See, I didn't warm to him. I'll just go back to say that it wasn't his fault. He delivered his lines well, and he did probably everything that Guy Richie would have asked of him. But I don't think Guy Richie asked enough of him, and I think that's why I didn't warm to him. So I kind of agree with what you were saying in that his performance was okay. But I just wish that they'd have given him a bit more depth to his character, given him something else to say rather than like a smarmy one-liner or a put down for the Russian guy.
It was interesting to see the once potential Batman going up against the current Superman, though. I've got to say, that was a nice kind of moment.
Just found that out tonight, actually, yeah.
Fact.
He would have made a great Batman, actually.
He would. I think he would have made a really good Bruce Wayne, but I'm really glad that Ben Affleck's doing it. What did you think of the women in this film? Obviously, Alicia Vikander plays the love interest, shall we say. We won't go any further than that. Although, I got to say, I did see some plot twists with her character coming a mile off.
There's been quite a lot of spy films out this year. And even the film Spy, the comedy, that had more plot twists than this film had.
I thought of Spy. We went to see Spy together, and if you've seen Spy, then I think you'll kind of really see what's coming. This almost feels like a more serious version of Spy.
It does, yeah.
Those two films feel very much alike, although I think this one was much better.
And Guy Richie does try to put those plot twists in with that character, but like I said, they come a mile off.
Yeah.
And it does that whole thing of like messing around with time. So she'll have a conversation with someone, but you kind of don't really know what's going on. There's this really interesting scene where this guy's peeling a grape, which I really actually like that scene. Yeah. And she's having a conversation and we don't know what's going on. But as an audience, you actually do know what's going on. You completely know what's going on. Yeah. And you don't need Guy Richie to reveal it to you.
Yeah. So it's like he's playing with time and he kind of... So we see that scene, but we don't see everything in that scene, even though you know what's going on in that scene. And then he kind of reiterates it by showing us what we missed, even though it was really quite clear what was going on. So I agree. I think... much of Guy Ritchie's usual editing techniques are here. He's kind of playing around with time and perspective and whatnot.
And the montages.
The montages in particular. But sometimes I think, I don't know about you, but for me, it felt like more of a distraction technique rather than any genuine sense of kind of revealing something that we didn't already know about the plot.
It wasn't developing the story at all for the audience at all. It was just kind of giving us what we already knew.
It was almost masking some of the deficiencies in the script, I think, in many ways. But for the most part, stylistically, a lot of Guy Ritchie's usual tricks are here, and they do work. They kept me entertained. I don't know about you, but...
They did. Going back to the female characters bit, I was just thinking, this film doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
It definitely doesn't pass the Bechdel test. And I gotta say as well, don't know about American audiences, but certainly over here it's rated a 12A. I think that's maybe the equivalent of a PG-13. I don't quite understand the American rating system, but I don't know about you again, but for me personally, this should not be a 12A. There was a lot of stuff in here.
There's a lot of innuendo, wasn't there?
There's a lot of innuendo, but there's a particularly dark moment with a character, a Nazi character, both in how he displays his person, so to speak, and also his demise. We get some comedy from it. I'll admit I did laugh, but it was very dark humour in that moment.
And I'm not sure if those two things matched up quite well in this film. I think that's kind of one of the things that was his downfall, really. In that
it was a shifting tone, wasn't it?
This whole backdrop of like the Cold War and the fact that the world could be annihilated, and then you've got this guy from this Nazi guy who's been Hitler's, torture doctor or whatever, but then it's mixed with real humour right next to it, and you do laugh out loud because there's some really funny bits when he's being electrocuted. You do laugh out loud, but then you kind of almost feel guilty.
Spoiler.
Sorry, I've never done this before, and you kind of get the sense that maybe Guy Ritchie went a little bit too far. Not as far as someone like Tarantino might have gone, but maybe a bit too far.
I feel that maybe it's not so much that he went too far, but that the BBFC didn't go far enough. But like you say, there is that shift in tone there. We do much of this film, particularly in the first act, maybe the first two acts, is very comedic. Some nice kind of light throwaway action, but when we get to that particular scene, which you've just spoiled, the tone does shift, doesn't it? The tone shifts quite dramatically, I think, for that scene, and we are asked as audience members to still laugh along with it. And for me, I personally felt a bit uneasy laughing along with some of the elements in that scene, given the shift in tone. One of the things that surprised me actually with regards to the action is just how little there was of it, given that this is billed as an action/spy thriller. When we open up the first kind of sequence, it's quite a heavy action sequence, isn't it? It's good, it bristles along quite nicely, but I think after that it does err more on the espionage side of thing, the kind of undercover work stuff, doesn't it? And there isn't quite as much action as you would expect, certainly from the trailer, given what we saw in the trailer.
There's a lot of character play between the three of them, and kind of the chemistry between the three of them, which is interesting, but you do want a bit more action, because that's what you're expecting when you go and see this film, especially coming from Guy Ritchie, who's done Sherlock Holmes, and it's billed as an action film. And in fact, I mean, getting to spoiler territory again, probably. But
Cut!
in that third act, you're waiting for this big action to happen in that third act, and it's a montage And it's
yeah. I know the sequence you're on about, and it was just like, to me, that was too much. Again, that was a stylistic thing. A lot of the time in this film, Guy Ritchie's style kind of takes over the substance, and he doesn't need to, because in those sequences, again, it feels like a shortcut. It feels like a distraction. It feels like the material isn't quite there to give us a link between A and C. So he kind of cuts the middle out just by distracting us with those visual techniques. But other than that particular one, I guess, that I know the one you're on about, without spoiling anything, the rest of them, they kind of washed over me a bit. I didn't allow them to spoil my enjoyment of the film. I do, like I say, there was the one I mentioned before, where I do think that it was unnecessary in that it was giving us plot information that, as an audience, we already knew. But for the most part, I was fine with it. It was just, I noticed that it was style over substance, but I didn't really care because I was going along for the ride. You, I gather, not kind of on the same.
Well, speaking of style, I did like the whole the time period of it, and the fact that he tried to sort of make the palette of the film from a certain time period, and the fashions and the styles, and even the characters spoke about those styles and fashions, and that was really cool. And I liked the music, as I said before. So the whole setting of it was really cool, and I went with it, for the first part of the film. But then, like you say, I just wanted a little bit more from a narrative, a little bit more depth in some of the characters. There was depth in some of the characters, but not a lot of them. Hugh Grant's character was interesting, I thought.
Yeah, it was just Hugh Grant's character is one of the signposts, I think, in the plot. I think if you know spy movies, if you know espionage films, then I think you're going to see a lot of the stuff with his character coming a mile off. But Hugh Grant is a likeable character. It's like a likeable persona, I think.
Yeah.
Even though he's done some questionable things over his time in his personal life and whatnot, on screen he always has, even when he's playing rogues, kind of had this likeable quality to him, I think. And that comes across well in this film. And if they do a sequel to this film, I would like to see a return for his character, because obviously they've set this up for a sequel. I think it would work nicely at bringing this team back. But I got to say, I would also like to see a return of Alicia Vikander's character, because what they tend to do in these films is they have the women in, don't they, and then they ditch them for the next one and they bring on another love interest. But I like her character in this, and I would like to see her return in a sequel if they did it, and have this as like a team movie, bring back the team, so to speak.
I don't think they should make a sequel.
You don't?
No. Okay. I didn't feel enough chemistry with the team. I don't think it's going to be that successful.
Oh, right.
I don't think they're going to make enough money to warrant a sequel. Maybe they will. Maybe I'll eat my words.
So I think this film's going to get good word of mouth, because I thought the trailers for this film were lousy, and I know you differ with me on this again.
I was excited because I was excited from the trailer. I like Guy Ritchie films.
I just thought this trailer was one of the dullest trailers for the summer blockbuster season, with the likes of Mission Impossible and all them lot. It's just, for me, the trailer for this film just did not click at all. So going into this, I wasn't expecting a right lot, but for me, it exceeded my expectations. I laughed, and I thought there was some decent action sequences in it, if not quite enough of them.
See, I like the style of the trailer. I like the music in the trailer. I was excited about seeing how it was going to work with Guy Ritchie doing this sort of like throwback spy film. But I guess I'm just disappointed, really, in that I didn't get what I thought I was going to get from the trailer. That's what I thought.
Okay, two very differing opinions. And on that note, it leaves us, I guess, just to give our scores for the film. Nathan, do you want to go first? What do you give this film out of 10?
See, I'm normally out of 5 stars kind of guy.
Oh, right.
So I'll just double it.
We're playing that game.
I'll just double it.
Just double it. You're on Bryan Lomax Movie Talk now,
Well, I do one-word reviews, Brian.
We'll get to that. Out of 10, give us your score.
6. I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Oh, well, it's a bit more respectable than I was expecting. It's a decent score. I personally give it an 8 out of 10. I think there's a lot here to enjoy. I'd quite happily come and watch a sequel, although I think Guy Ritchie needs to work on a Sherlock Holmes sequel before he does one to this. Okay, so if you've seen this film, I'd like to please comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And if you're a fan of the TV series, how do you think this film holds up to the TV series? Do you think it disgraces the TV series, or do you think it does the series justice? Before I go, I'd just like to say, check out Nathan Ashman on Twitter, at Nathan Ashman. He does a thing called one-word reviews, so literally exactly that. In fact, just tell people what you do with your one-word reviews.
I am the laziest film critic in the world in that I just write one word for my reviews. It's as simple as that. I don't give usually any more than that, although I have done today.
He has given less at times. No, but seriously, he does get quite creative with them at times.
Oh.
He's like a walking dictionary, I think, at sometimes. So check them out.
In fact, I've had a very famous one-word review, which was replied to by Matt Reeves.
Director of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. For your review of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I do believe.
Indeed. Do you know what my one-word review is for this film?
Go on. Right, we want to go. One-word review for this film. Go.
Unfulfilling.
Ooh, sting. Thanks for watching. But Hugh Jackman. What? Was he
in there as well?
Was Hugh Jackman in
That's
there?
cameo.
I didn't see Hugh Jackman.
David Beckham was in it.
Playing the Russian agent Ilya Kuryakin. Playing the Russian agent
Ilya Kuryakin.
Playing the Russian agent
Ilya.
Yeah, go on. Ilya
Kuryakin.
Ilya Kuryakin.
Kuryakin. Curry, and then you yakking.
You're yakking it up afterwards.
Yeah, curry yakking.
Right, okay. Oh, yes.
Planet of the Apes.
Yes. Rupert Wyatt got in touch. Was it Rupert Wyatt? Yeah. Or was it Dawn? Was it Rupert? Was it
Matt Smith?
Matt Reeves. No, he's the second one. It wasn't Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It was Dawn.
Cut that out. I'm not getting his name wrong.